I try not to think about the boarding school anymore. Memories of that place feel less like nostalgia and more like an infection I can't shake. It started in 8th grade when they assigned me to room 302 with a boy named Weston. Weston wasn't just socially awkward, he was hollow. He existed in the room like a piece of furniture that occasionally moved. The first red flag wasn't a conversation, but a crumpled piece of paper he pressed into my hand a few weeks in. No hello, no explanation, just a list of contraband. "Do not bring these into the room," he whispered, his eyes never meeting mine. The list was deranged. No frogs, no mirrors facing the door. But the one underlined 3 times was salt. Who bans salt? It wasn't an allergy. The way he looked at me suggested it was a breach of security, as if a shaker of sodium was a weapon I was too stupid to handle. Then came the whispering. At night, when the dorm settled into silence, Weston would begin his liturgy. It wasn't random muttering. It was a rhythmic, guttural chant under his breath. I'd lie there, staring at the ceiling, feeling like an intruder in my own room, listening to him commune with the dark. One afternoon, curiosity rotted into obsession. While he was gone, I violated his privacy and dug under his mattress. I found a small, black notebook. I expected a diary, maybe some teenage angst. Instead, I found a ledger. It was a list of names, dozens of them. Most were violently scratched out, the ink tearing through the paper. I recognized classmates, kids who had moved away, or gotten sick, or just drifted out of circles. And then, on the last page, fresh and unblemished, my name. I put it back, my hands shaking. I wasn't just a roommate. I was an entry. The paranoia set in immediately. I spent my days avoiding the room, but the nights were unavoidable. One night, I snapped awake, the primitive part of my brain screaming danger. The room was pitch black, but I could feel the heat radiating near my face. My eyes adjusted. Weston was standing over me, not checking on me, not sleepwalking. He was looming, rigid as a corpse, with a smile that stretched too wide for his face. He looked like a predator waiting for the prey to stop struggling. I screamed. He didn't flinch. He just blinked, that horrible smile fading into a look of dull confusion, and muttered that I had been talking in my sleep. He went back to bed. I didn't close my eyes until dawn. The atmosphere in the room grew heavy, like the air before a storm. Then came the snake. I walked in one evening to find a garden snake coiled on my pillow. I recoiled, shouting at Weston, who sat at his desk unbothered. "It's just a prank," he murmured. But when he opened the glass jar on his desk, he didn't pick the snake up. The snake turned. It looked at him, slithered across the sheets, up the desk leg, and coiled itself willingly into the jar. It wasn't an animal. It was a familiar returning to its master. "They're everywhere," Weston said, his voice devoid of emotion. "You just don't see them." The breaking point wasn't a waking moment, but a nightmare, or so I prayed. I woke up paralyzed. The room was freezing. Above me, the shadows on the ceiling began to boil. A dark, amorphous mass detached itself from the gloom, pulsing like a blackened heart. It descended. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. A limb, something jagged and claw-like, extended from the smoke, scraping against the wood of my bed frame. Scritch, scritch! It reached for my throat. But just before it touched me, it recoiled, hissing as if burned by an invisible barrier. The mass flew into a rage. It tore through the room, knocking books and lamps aside before hurling itself at the window. Crash. The sound of shattering glass snapped the paralysis. I sat up, gasping. This was real. The cold wind was real. The window was gone, jagged teeth of glass remaining in the frame. And on my bedpost, exactly where the shadow had reached, were three deep, fresh gouges in the wood. I looked at Weston. He was asleep, fake asleep. His breathing was too even. I shook him, screaming, desperate for a human reaction to prove I hadn't lost my mind. He woke up, but not as Weston. For a split second, his eyes were void. He didn't ask what happened. He accused me, and as I yelled back, pointing at the shattered window, Weston stopped using words. He arched his back and hissed a sound no human throat should make and began screaming in a language of hard consonants and guttural clicks. The RAs dragged us out. I spent the night in a vacant room, shivering, realizing the window in that new room was wide open, though I had shut it. By morning, Weston was gone. His side of the room was scrubbed clean. The school administration stonewalled me. "He's no longer your concern," they said. I don't know what Weston was. I don't know if he was keeping something out or inviting something in. But sometimes, when I'm alone in the dark, I remember that list of names. And I remember that unlike the others, mine was never crossed out.